Hi everyone, my name is Ben Lau, Executive Director of the Chinese American Museum of Chicago. I would like to welcome you all to our very first virtual fundraiser. We are the only Chinese American museum in the Midwest. Our mission is to advance the appreciation of Chinese American culture through exhibitions, education, and research, and to preserve the past, present, and future of Chinese Americans primarily in the Midwest. As the ED, I oversee the daily operations of the museum, work with various board committees to launch new exhibitions, present public programming, and provide a safe and pleasant environment for visitors and researchers, as well as our staff and volunteers. For many years, we have been doing our annual fundraiser in person, and we thank you for your support. This year, due to COVID-19 pandemic, we decided in March to postpone our annual fundraiser from May to this month, hoping that the crisis would be over. But given the fact that the situation is still critical, we decided to move this event to this online platform so that you can safely participate in and support us. We have a link below that you can click on to support us, or you may want to send us a donation check to the address listed below. And the level of support will mean a lot to us and definitely make a difference. Tonight, we have members from our governing board, advisory board, associate board, staff, and volunteers to introduce themselves and talk a little bit of what they do at our museum. And of course, we also have a number of wonderful performances for you to enjoy. We are so glad that we have invited the Tuvergen Band, a Chicagoland-based traditional Mongolian music trio, Carrie Liang, a skilled musician who enjoys speaking about the culture of Chinese music, Yin-Ha Dance, a Chicago-based company which represents traditional and contemporary Chinese dance, as well as students from St. Therese Chinese Catholic School and John C. Haynes Elementary School to perform for you. Now I would like to introduce our board president, Edward Jung, to tell his story. And after that, Illinois State Rep. Teresa Ma, who is also one of our advisors, will talk a little bit about her role. Then the Tuvergen Band will perform first, followed by other stories and performances. So enjoy.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us today for our annual fundraiser. Hi, I am Ed Jung, President of the Chinese American Museum of Chicago. We are the only Chinese American museum located in the entire Midwest. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we are doing a virtual fundraiser this year. For our program today, we have Mongolian folk music, music performed on a pipa and a vertical flute, reciting of Chinese poetry, and Chinese folk dancing. We hope you enjoy our cultural program. In order to support these programs, we need your help. Your financial contributions support our mission, which is to advance the appreciation of Chinese American culture through exhibitions, education, and research, and to preserve the past, present, and future of Chinese Americans, primarily in the Midwest. We want to tell the stories of Chinese Americans, of how they built a community, and illustrate how Chinese American culture and contributions are an important part of the American fabric. With your donation, we can invest it digitizing the museum with programs such as virtual tours, where you can take a digital stroll down our halls of the museum from the friendly confines of your home. Help us build a legacy. Please donate. Please press the red donate button below, or send a check addressed to the Chinatown Museum Foundation, located at 238 West 23rd Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60616. We appreciate your support and hope you can join us for future events. virtually and in person. Thanks very much and enjoy our program tonight.
Hi everyone, I'm State Representative Teresa Ma. I'm really happy to be here with you. And I want to congratulate the Chinese American Museum of Chicago for this wonderful event. I always like to support the museum, and I'm really happy that all of you are here as well to support this fundraising effort. I have been a long-time member of the Advisory Council for the museum, and it's been really important to me over the years to support the museum and all of its activities because it is such an important institution in our community. I started my career as a college professor and a historian, and I went into it because I wanted to let more people know about the contributions that Asian Americans, specifically Chinese immigrants like my grandfather and my parents, have made to the building of this country. So my grandfather came in 1924. He was a paper son, and despite the fact that he was not allowed to be in this country, he immigrated like thousands of other Chinese immigrants, and he worked hard and did what he could to support the economy of California where he lived, and essentially contributed to the history of this country. And those stories are not in our history books. We need to preserve them, we need to promote them, and make sure that more people understand the role of Chinese immigrants in building communities like Chicago's Chinatown. And so I really cannot say enough about the importance of the role of the museum in Chicago's Chinatown, in our community, and I will always support the museum, and I encourage all of you to as well. Thank you for everyone involved in this event, and I hope that those of you who are able can contribute what you can to the museum and to make sure that it is able to fulfill its mission and continue its work in the community. Thank you all for being here and for being supportive. Have a great night.
Hello everyone, we are Tuvergen Band. We are fusion modern takes on traditional Mongolian folk song ensemble. So this is Naidul Hargana, and he played traditional Mongolian instrument called horse head fiddle, Morin Hor. You can see the horse head on top. That's what we call, in English we call horse head fiddle. And this is Brent Roman. He played his own DIY drum set and has a lot of different world music effect influence on it. And I am Tamir Hargana, and I play traditional Mongolian and Tuvan lute instrument. And our first song will be Dengildai. Please enjoy. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mabel Menard, and I am the Vice President for the Chinatown Museum Foundation. I am also the Chair of the Public Programming Committee, which is responsible for putting together public events, usually held in person at the museum and in the community. But because of COVID-19, we've been hosting events online, including today's virtual fundraiser. Before COVID-19, we'd hosted events to tie in with our exhibits, especially the one on the Chinese railroad workers to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad. In addition, we'd had film screenings, book talks, cooking demonstrations, holiday celebrations, and storytelling workshops. During shelter-in-place and our current limitations to in-person events, we have continued to offer public programs in the virtual environment. The purpose of continuing to offer public programs, despite not being able to meet in person, is to continue the museum's mission to advance the appreciation of Chinese American culture through exhibitions, education, and research, and to preserve the past, present, and future of Chinese Americans primarily in the Midwest. For those of you who have attended our events in person in the past, you know it is important to us to bring you quality and relevant public programming. Instead of just showing a film, for example, we make sure we can offer Q&A with a filmmaker. Many of them are independent filmmakers and rely on screening and speaking fees to help with promoting their films. For example, with the November 3rd elections coming up, we showed the film First Vote, which follows 4 Chinese Americans who were first-time voters to learn why they registered with their respective political parties, which was followed with a Q&A with a filmmaker who was a first-time voter herself. Similarly, book talks often involved compensating the authors for their travel. Although our events have been virtual since March, when shelter-in-place became effective, we continue to be creative in how we engage the public with topics that you can relate to. I therefore urge you to support us with a donation, small or large, to help us bring more quality programs to the museum. I hope we can see each other in person soon, but in the meantime, your support will help us allocate funds to compensate filmmakers, authors, and special speakers as we work on our programming schedule. Thank you, and please enjoy the rest of today's program.
Ooh.
beautiful dance. Bravo to Angela Tam and Amy Share. If you enjoyed the performance, don't forget to click the link below or send us a donation check to the address below to support us. With your support, our museum will be able to continue to open to the public during this difficult time. Every penny counts. Now, we will have our committee heads and other board members to talk about their roles. Then, there will be more performances.
As a cultural history museum, the Chinese American Museum of Chicago's mission is to advance the appreciation of Chinese American culture through exhibitions, education, and research. Exhibitions are important as an educational tool for both the visitors and students. Exhibits provide learning opportunities for the audience and are supplemented by programs. Since our museum's opening in 2005, we have provided a variety of exhibits relating to Chinese American culture and history, showcasing many artifacts from our collections. In addition to curating our own exhibits, we have also collaborated with other cultural institutions to host exhibits on our site or off-site. Our most recent off-site collaboration is with the Ethiopian Community Association of Chicago and the Mitchell Museum of the American Indians, where the exhibit Reclaiming Cultural Treasures will be housed. Our next exhibit will be Eating Bitterness, Stories of Chinese American Cuisines and Restaurants, detailing the stories of the Chinese American in the Midwest. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, it will be postponed to 2021. With our new and future exhibitions, we would like to incorporate more interactive technology to enhance and improve our exhibits. Your support will be greatly appreciated to help us accomplish our goals. Thank you.
This is the Chinese pipa, 4-string lute, very long history. I'm going to play the pipa with a traditional Chinese music. It's called Dancing Music of the Yi People.
Hello, my name is Andrea Stam. I'm a retired librarian, and I have work experience in building collections in libraries, archives, and museums. I first joined the museum in 2004. That is really a long time ago, way before we had a physical building. My role is head of collections and research, and I'm also a board member. I'd like to tell you what the museum collects because that's what we do every day in collections. We collect historical documents, photographs, business records, oral histories, garments, textiles, two-dimensional artifacts, three-dimensional artifacts, all related to Chinese American history of the American Midwest. Our exhibitions, which are both in-house and online, the lectures and research that we do are drawn from our important collections. So collections, I really feel, are the backbone of the museum. My goal is to have sustainable collections which will reach a broader and diverse audience. So I've been asked to explain to you what I do, and collections is a very complicated process. So here goes. We catalog and process all collections using software designed for small museums. We organize and maintain collection storage areas. We prepare loan documentation. We are part of exhibition planning and installation. We digitize two-dimensional paper artifacts, and we photograph three-dimensional objects. We get help translating Chinese text that appears on some of the donations. We perform artifact conservation for storage or exhibition. We identify housing and storage needs for each object. We monitor light, temperature, humidity of our collections, and we monitor pest management. So why do we need your donation? In 2019, with a very small staff of part-time contractors and volunteers, we were able to process 1,166 items that were donated to the museum last year. We have recently returned to processing the additions to the collections. I hope you will continue to visit us and support the important work by making a financial donation or a donation of your historical or family precious artifacts. Thank you so very much.
Hi, I'm Mark Chang, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Chinese American Museum of Chicago. I'm also a faculty member at the University of Illinois in Chicago, where I teach Asian American literature and history. I got involved with the museum about 4 years ago because I really believe in its mission of educating the public about the important role that Chinese Americans and Asian Americans have played in the history of the city of Chicago, in the Midwest, and in the United States as a whole. I see this every semester because when I teach my Asian American Studies classes, I ask my students, almost all of whom are Asian American themselves, what they learned about Asian American history and culture in high school, in school, and the answer that I get from almost all of them is virtually nothing. So I think that there's a real lack in the Midwest in particular of knowledge about the significant role that Chinese Americans and Asian Americans generally have played in American history and in American society. And to me, that just speaks to the important role that the museum has in helping to educate the public, to expand awareness of Chinese Americans and Chinese American history and culture, and especially to help preserve the history of Chinatown in Chicago, which most people don't know very much about. So I hope that you will join me in helping to support this important work that the museum is doing with your generous financial contribution, especially now in this time when there are so many challenges facing nonprofit organizations like the museum. And you can help us also in other ways too by sharing information about the museum on your social networks to your friends, helping to get the word out about the work that we're doing, and also about the important knowledge and information that we're helping to spread to the public about Chinese Americans in Chicago, the Midwest, and in the United States. So I hope that you are enjoying our fundraiser, and that one day soon I will be able to see you again at the museum. Thanks.
This is the Chinese shell flute. I'm going to play a music. It's called Melody of the Schwarber.
I am David K. Lee, one of the board of directors of the museum. Let me tell you my story. Once upon a time, when I was the chairman of the fundraising committee, when I walk on the street in Chinatown, people that I know me, so they saw that I am coming, so they tried to avoid me by getting right across the street. But nevertheless, when I catch up with them and tell them the function of the museum in somewhat a detailed fashion, so eventually they agree and they did donate money for the good cause of the museum. Today, I am very happy that you all come in and try to help the museum by donating whatever money you can for the good cause, the museum. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Melissa Kasoko, and I'm a member here of the Chinese American Museum of Chicago. As you know, now more than ever, it is vital for us to rely on each other during these unprecedented times. If you're going to donate to one organization this year, why not make it the Chinese American Museum of Chicago? Your donations, no matter the size, will help us make the museum a space for all. A place where community is not just presented in exhibits, but built into our programs. Please take a moment and share what you can, however you can, whether that be through a monetary donation or volunteering at the museum or sharing this video along to family and friends. Thanks, and I hope to see you all at the museum soon.
I hope that you can now have a better picture of our museum. I also hope that you enjoy the Lotus dance performed by Sabrina Shi and the Chinese music performed by Carrie Leung. So don't forget to click on the link below or send us a donation check to the address below to support us. With your support, our museum will be able to continue to launch new exhibitions and quality public programming. Any donations will make an impact. Now I would like to introduce one of our board member, Professor John Rosenau, who will give you a very, very brief tour to our museum. Then we will have our staff and volunteers to say something and 4 students to recite poetry. So enjoy.
Hello, I'm John Rosenau. I'm a volunteer docent here at the Chinese American Museum of Chicago at 238 West 23rd Street in the heart of Chicago's old Chinatown, right across the street from St. Teresa's School and just off Wentworth Avenue. I'm standing in the foyer, the lobby of the Guangyi building, which was built in 1896, which was generously donated to us by Raymond Lee in 2005 to house the Chinese American Museum of Chicago. The Chinese American Museum of Chicago is run by the Chinatown Museum Foundation, which was founded by a bunch of interested Chinese Americans in 2002, incorporated as a 501c3 corporation, with the idea of preserving and promoting the history of Chinese Americans in Chicago and the Midwest. It's the only Chinese American museum in the American Midwest. Here at the foyer on the first floor, we have our admissions desk and our museum shop, where we have a number of artifacts related to Chinese American culture and books by various people who have come to give talks on our monthly talks that we have here at the Chinese American Museum. The museum has 4 floors. Here on the first floor, we try and change the exhibits at least once a year. Right at the moment, we're having an exhibit called Attic Treasures 2, which is an exhibit of many of the items that people from the surrounding Chinese community have given us from their attics and basements, which reveal interesting parts of the Chinese American community here in Chicago. Hello there. Now we're on the second floor of the Chinese American Museum, where we have our semi-permanent exhibit from the Great Wall to the Great Lakes. The first thing we like to show people, in our little theater that we built here, a film called My Chinatown, Stories from Within, where our neighbors in Chinatown and got them to tell us about their own stories and their family stories about coming to the United States, coming to Chinatown, and growing up in Chinatown. We also have various artifacts that different organizations in Chinatown have lent to us. At the moment, we have here some furniture very kindly lent to us by the Lee Family Association. So at the beginning of our exhibit from the Great Wall to the Great Lakes, which tells the story of Chinese immigration to the United States and the Midwest, we start off by telling the story of the first Chinese who came to the United States primarily through the gold rush of 1849 through San Francisco. They came to join the gold rush, to pan for gold, to prospect for gold. After the gold rush was over, they were the primary workers on the western half of the Transcontinental Railroad, which was finished in 1869, 150 years ago last year. The next important aspect of Chinese American history in the United States are the infamous Chinese Exclusion Acts, which were first passed in 1882 and renewed again all the way to halfway through World War II in 1943. These acts forbid the immigration of any Chinese to the United States. So this concludes our very brief introduction to the Chinese American Museum of Chicago. I hope that you will come down, and we welcome you to come down and learn more about some of the things I briefly touched on, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions. We're handicap accessible, and we have free parking right next door. So please come to 238 West 23rd Street in Chicago's Chinatown, a half a block off of Wentworth, right opposite St. Teresa's School, and park in our free parking lot. Thank you.
風橋夜泊，作者張繼。月落烏啼霜滿天，江風漁火對愁眠。姑蘇城外寒山寺，夜半鐘聲到客船。
A Night Mooring Near Maple Bridge by Zhang Ji. While I watch the moon go down, a crow calls through the frost. Under the shadows of maple trees, a fisherman moves with his torch. And I hear from beyond Sudao, from the temple on cold mountains, ringing for me here in my boat, the midnight bell.
大家好我英文名叫 Grace， 我姓李嘅，我都係屬於移民家庭，咁我全家喺廣東中國廣東移民嚟美國已經超過15年㗎啦。 咁其實喺一個好偶然嘅機會咧，係通過華人諮詢服務處咧，係介紹我過嚟做一個屬於前台接待員嘅職務。咁其實係負責咧係接待來賓，同埋同佢哋講解一下博物館嘅一啲移民歷史。咁其實通過呢個工作咧，我對成個移民歷史咧真係了解咗好多，即係有一個深一層嘅認識。咁而且咧係透過我哋嘅講解咧，係可以咧令到嚟參觀嘅來賓咧係可以重新認識我哋華人嘅移民歷史。咁其實每一次咧係通過佢哋我哋嘅講解之後咧，咁係好高興見到佢哋有一個好滿意嘅收穫。咁亦都讓啲來賓咧係產生一個重新下次再嚟嘅一個興趣，因為我哋咧一樓咧係屬於臨時嘅展廳，所以咧我哋歡迎咧我哋嘅來賓咧，佢每一年咧都可以嚟我哋嘅一樓去參觀每一期新嘅一個展覽。咁據我所知咧，我哋呢個博物館係全美中西部唯一一間嘅華裔歷史博物館，所以非常之值得咧我哋去世世代代咁樣繼續保存落去。所以亦都希望大家繼續支持我哋呢間博物館，支持華人歷史。多謝大家。
望月懷遠，作者張九齡。海上生明月，天涯共此時。情人怨遙夜，竟夕起相思。滅燭憐光滿，披衣各路枝。不堪盈手贈，還寢夢佳期。
Looking at the moon and thinking of one far away by Zhang Jiuling. The moon full grown over the sea, brightening the whole of heaven, brings to separate hearts the long thoughtfulness of night is no darker though I blow out my candle. It is no warmer though I put on my coat. So I leave my message with the moon and turn to my bed hoping for dreams.
Hi everyone, my name is Chris Camargo. I just wanted to share a little bit about my experience volunteering at the Chinese American Museum of Chicago. I volunteered last year for about 6 months, from January up until May or June. I really wanted to find a volunteer or internship work while I was in college, and I wanted to do it in the nonprofit sector. So one day, sure enough, I decided to go into the Chinatown Museum and ask about that, if they offered that kind of work, and they did. They took me in with open arms, and I'm really grateful that I went there and asked, because I enjoyed every single moment of being there. You know, they let me do all kinds of things. Previously, I thought that maybe volunteering at a museum would kind of, I guess you could say, limit the stuff I would do, because as a volunteer, I'm sure maybe you don't get a lot of access to kind of the ins and outs of the museums. But I can say that in Chinatown, the Chinese American Museum definitely had open arms and open minds about what I could do. You know, whenever they needed suggestions or opinions on things, they would even ask me, which made me feel really important and part of the team. So I really appreciate that. And again, like I mentioned, I was able to do a lot of stuff. Every day was different. There was always new challenges that we had to face as a team, but I enjoyed it all. Some days I would be kind of at the front desk greeting guests. Some days I would be giving the tours. Some days I would be organizing stuff in the basement, you know. So everything from even marketing to kind of how do we bring in more schools from the Chicagoland, all the way to literally like shoveling the snow outside and putting salt on the sidewalk so people don't slip. I did all that kind of work. Even setting up the railroad exhibit of last year, you know, I was one of the people painting the walls and and stuff. So, I really was able to get really down and to it in terms of literally almost every aspect of the museum. I was able to kind of be a part of everything, which made me feel really important, even though I was just a volunteer. And not to mention that I met a lot of great people, a lot of great resources, and I felt like we were making definitely some, important stuff going on in the community in Chinatown. And that's one of the biggest things that I loved about my internship there was the people who work there, all the way from the top to the bottom. Everyone is great. Everyone just wants to improve the museum and give back to the community. And that was another thing too, was the community, because unlike other museums, and maybe I can't speak for them because I haven't worked there, but I know that in Chinatown, the Chinese American Museum is very close-knit with its community in Chinatown. The stuff we do there is for Chinatown, it's for the Chinese American people, as well as educating other groups of people who maybe aren't that familiar with Chinatown's rich history. So overall, it was a great experience, and again, I enjoyed every moment. If I could do it again, I definitely would. And I hope if any of you guys have any people interested in volunteering or helping out in the museum, that you definitely check it out, because it's a great place to make some lifelong friends and to get a bunch of new resources and helping the community. So thank you.
秋风词，秋风清，秋月明，落叶洒还聚，寒鸦栖复惊。相亲相见知何日？此时此夜难为情。
我名咧係叫做 Sophia 梁，中文名咧叫做李淑芬。咁啊，我咧係第3代嘅移民。我嘅外祖父、外祖母係第1代移民。佢哋係開呢個洗衣館幫人哋洗衫嘅，用手洗衫嘅。咁我媽媽咧嘅幾姊妹咧都係喺美國出世。咁喺第1次世界大戰之前咧，我外婆就將啲細路仔帶咗翻去中國大陸受教育。咁之後咧就我媽媽嘅弟兄姊妹佢哋都陸續翻過嚟美國，但係咧我媽媽咧因為係喺中國解放後咧係唔批准佢，中美關係唔好就唔批准佢翻嚟，所以咧佢係79年先至翻過嚟美國嘅。我咧係85年移民嚟呢度美國芝加哥，咁我曾經係喺華人諮詢服務處度工作咗14年，咁8年前咧我就退休。退休咗之後咧，我係舊年我先知道我哋呢度唐人街咧有呢個博物館，咁我咧就諗到嚟呢度博物館做義工，因為咧我好想喺博物館裏面咧將我哋祖輩輩嘅移民歷史咧係介紹俾人哋，一啲人哋都認識我哋嘅中國華人嘅移民歷史。咁我喺呢個博物館裏面咧，亦做咗一啲手工，咁希望大家咧嚟到欣賞我呢啲手工，或者幫助我採購一啲呢啲手工咧，嚟到支持一下我呢個華人博物館。
今夜是礼拜，转选明月圆，一是地上虚妄，举头望明月，低头是故乡。The moonlight is shining through the window, and it makes me wonder if it is frost on the ground. Looking up to see the moon, looking down, I miss so much about my hometown.
Hi, my name is Sui Cheng, one of the board members in the museum. I'm also the fundraising coordinator.
This year, entering my 4th year volunteering in the museum, COVID-19 has changed the way we do things. We work remotely so that we can social distancing, and wearing a mask in public has become our daily life. We have to cancel our annual benefit dinner this year, instead replaced with our first virtual fundraising event that we have never done before. I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. I appreciate those who support us tonight. As a non-profit organization, your continued support is greatly appreciated so we can continue to roll out events and exhibits. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening.